So hi everyone, welcome again to my YouTube channel Fitness Fit Computer Geek, and welcome to my book review section. Those who are following me in the book review section seen my videos on lots of books that I have reviewed earlier. Okay, continue that playlist. Today I am going to review on a famous biography of a person that is about Steve Jobs. You can see, I would say he is the greatest pioneer in the digital world. He single-handedly took the human civilization forward. All of you have heard about in some way or other. You might have heard about Steve Jobs in some part of your life. That dent he made into the universe, as his famous Macintosh ad, dent in the universe. I would say I will be reviewing the entire book of 500 pages. Okay, so be with me. Keep patience. Okay, and watch the video till end. Hopefully you watch the video till end. So these are before going into the, I am about to just give you a brief introduction to the book which I am currently reading, and I will be reviewing in the future. So okay, if I took these 4 books, these are the 3 books that I have completed already, and I am going to review all these books after the review of this book. Okay, and I am currently reading this book. You can see The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, The Simulation Hypothesis by Rizwan Craig, and the biography of Albert Einstein written by same writer, Walter Isaacson, who have written this book also. Steve Jobs, same writer. So he is very famous biographer, and this is also an autobiography of Nikola Tesla, the great inventor. You all know about him. You might have heard about him. The inventor who was forgotten, but it really fascinating book. So these are all about the books that I am currently reading, and these the last 3 I have completed it. So without wasting any time, let's now begin. So he has basically divided this book into 42 different chapters. You will know about it. Some chapters are small, some are large. Obviously this is very huge book, almost 500 pages. I have read. It has taken me about 3 months to read this 500 page book. So yeah, I am just giving the review, so you can read this book and find more about it. Some of you might heard about Steve Jobs as a very arrogant and very ruthless person, but it's not like that. Basically you have to understand in this book, and you have to understand that everything he is something. There is a reason behind him. Of course there is no justification like that, but you can as a human you can make the analogy that it can happen to anybody. If something tragic happen, it will lead to some definitely some weird things, weird personalities, which will be something different from the ordinary people's. But yeah, they are the crazy one. His famous speech you might have heard so many times. So as a computer, also for a computer geek, you must read this book. I am greatly advise you to please read this book as a computer geek. Those who are interested in this field of computer science. Okay. And or those who are fond of technology also, they can also go through this. This is really awesome book. When you read it, you will come to know more about it. So don't judge it right now that he was very arrogant and this like that. He was a founder of Apple. He was single-handedly revolutionized and take the human race one step forward. You might not be understanding this, some of you, but as a long-term goal, as a species, our prime goal is to take this species. As our species is advanced civilization, is very advanced civilization, so our goal should be like contribute something that would take this civilization to one step forward. You are getting it what I am saying. So this is all about Steve Jobs. Okay, so before going into the depth into this chapter, let me give short introduction about Walter Isaacson. He was famous biography. He was one time, some of you might have heard about him, and some of you might not, but because he is not a celebrity type guy, but yeah, he is a great person, I would say. So he is great biography, known for his biography, like he has written biography on Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, which I am currently reading. You can see Einstein, then Benjamin Franklin, then Steve Jobs, which I am going to review today, and currently he is writing a biography on Elon Musk. So that was a brief introduction about him, and he was also chairman and CEO of CNN some time ago, and he had worked at Time magazine. So Steve Jobs, obviously as a tech figure, will know this guy. When he heard about that he have written released the biography of Einstein, so he just persuaded him, go to him. Okay, what he have written in the first chapter is about how he come to get to write this book. Okay, So they just persuaded him, so why not you write or biography on myself. Walter Isaacson firstly thought that I will write about his book up to 2 or 3 decades later. But in 2004, when he was persuading, still he was going through the battle of cancer, no one knowing it. He was hiding it from entire world, Steve Jobs, because he believed in reality distortion theory. You will come to know about this theory more in this book. So in 2009, Walter Isaacson, one his wife, Lauren Powell, Steve Jobs' wife, come to Walter Isaacson, tell him that if you ever want to write about a book on him, please do it now, because he is really very seriously ill. So after hearing that part, he took more than 40 interviews of Steve Jobs until his dying days. This book is all about all the interview taken within a span of 2 years. Okay. So fascinating thing about Walter Isaacson is always in the first page of the book introduction part, he always mentioned the main characters, which are characters he will going to discuss about this, because whenever a autobiography is written, it is all about one person only. But when a biography is written, it is taken in a consideration of other people around it also, what are their experience again. So that's why all the other characters. So I have already told about how this book. So he have divided into 42 different chapters, okay, which I will go through one by one. Okay, just say review part only, don't worry, I will not go into detail. My intention is to just give a review in this book, so that and to encourage you to read this book. You will find it very interesting. Okay, so some of the famous picture actually. So first picture you can see, it is Paul Jobs, Steve Jobs father. Paul Jobs adopted Steve Jobs. Okay, he was not his real father, but he is adopted one. And this is the garage, the famous garage, you might have seen in the memes also, the garage where Apple company was created. And this is a high school photo of Steve Jobs. And this is some of the things they are enjoying. Okay, so first chapter is obviously about his childhood. In all the biography, you begin by discussing about the person's childhood, because childhoods play a very pivotal role what is going to contribute for the betterment of the human in later phase of their life. So discussing childhood is very interesting. So in Walter Isaacson had done lot of research in writing this book. So you will find more detail about how he was when he was actually born in 1955. His real biological father was Abdul Fateh John Jandali. He was actually from Syria. So when Abdul Fateh John Jandali's wife got pregnant, they were not ready to have a family right now. They were going through some personal difficulties. So they planned to put Jobs for adoption. Only one case that Job will graduate and have a graduate degree from university. That was their only condition. So they eventually get Paul and Karajo, who was also desperately in need for a child, because after the World War II ended, everyone was to settle down, and they too want to start their families. So they need, but because of some infertility problem, they unable to have a child. So in that way the story goes on, and what does happen, they adopted Steve Jobs and they moved to Silicon Valley, California. And this is the most crucial part of Steve's life. At very early age, he get an opportunity to live with the people of the genius people around the world who are making something in Silicon Valley. So all the genius people, he could meet all the genius people, can discuss within and show the live example how the things are actually working in inventing world. And also his father was a mechanical geek, so he also come to a lot about machines in that way. That was all about his childhood. If you want to know more, please read this book, you will find more about it. So now the second chapter is all about the odd couple, two Steves. All know about the second co-founder of Apple, who was Steve Wozniak. So in this chapter here discuss about the author Walter Isaacson discuss about Steve Wozniak life, some of the difference and similarity between these Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, and how they become close friends and later co-found the company Apple. That is all about. Second chapter he discuss about how they meet. You might know that in the early days he survived because of these two men only. Steve Wozniak was a very geek genius. He was great electronic and programming engineer. He used to do a lot of codes on basics, and he has also a great knowledge of electronics. So he was the main framework of designing the Apple one. And Steve Jobs was you could say he know how to make anything demandable. He know that part. He has very specialization from his early childhood. Okay, so this part is all about. Second chapter is all about Steve Wozniak. Okay, how they met and what happened after that. Okay, you will find very interesting here. Okay, now to chapter 3, we have discussed about that his dropout part, how he dropped out from the Reed College and he just didn't complete the college because he didn't like the college. Actually, he didn't like some of the class. He just interested in creative class like dance class or calligraphy class. He just interested in that part. Steve Jobs might be in any engineering college, but he was not that much of engineer. He himself accepted in many interviews that is not that level of engineer. Everything done by Steve Wozniak in the engineering level, but in the management level, there is no match to Steve Jobs. He really, the aura he feels around when he was used to around, he was quite, no one is able to do. So this is about his dropout. Why he dropped out the college? You all know that Steve Jobs was dropped out. So in that third chapter here discuss about why he actually dropped the college. Okay, so that was his part. That's what third chapter. Now the fourth chapter is Atari and India. So it quite, you could say this is the life changing here discussed. This is the turning point of Steve Jobs. So after he just dropped out of college, he wanted to do something. So he just looking for a job at Atari, and he just rushed into the halls of Atari and sit there until they hired him. So that was so much dedication, or you can say never giving up attitude, which can be seen from very early days of Steve Jobs. So in the fourth chapter, he just discuss about he want to do something about after dropout. So he took a job at Atari, and the main also one of the motives is he want to travel India and to just from the college that he was interested in spiritual things. So he want to do that. He want to pursue that. So that's why he was to earn some money. That's why he took the job at Atari and saved the money and went India to visit find something about Jain Buddhism and some gurus to give him the mantras to lead a life. From early days, he was not very fond of Western culture. He was just so much fascinated or liked Eastern culture. That's why he wanted to visit somewhat India. But in India, he didn't find something like that. But he learned something there. Okay, which you find in this chapter. Okay, very interesting. Now, the chapter 5, that is Apple 1. You can see now. This is Apple 1. You might have seen this part. Now after coming from India, he just learned something there from journalism, and he wanted to do something in technological field. So here just Wozniak think about that, and Wozniak had already designed some of the model of the Apple 1, and so Steve Jobs thought that it could be the greatest invention of digital world. They just started designing the Apple 1 in the Steve Jobs garage. They started Apple company, very famous location, heard about so many times in your life. And in this chapter he also discussed about why he named the company Apple. Actually you might have thought that there is a very strong reason of doing this, but he did not like it. First of all, he thought that let's name some boring. He doesn't like the idea of boring names like personal computer, INC, doctor. That there are lots of companies at that time. So he haven't get at night. He haven't get any idea about what to name the company. So he just think about, at that time he was on a vegetarian diet. So he pure vegetarian. He also only depend on fruits and vegetable, to survive. Most part is fruits. So he found of apple. So he just thought that apple is very interesting thing, and sounds very spiritual, not intimidating. He thought that, and very simple, basic. So it's all about a simple thing. So that's why, and that's how the famous name Apple Computers. That's will revolutionize the world completely. In the next decades. Still today. So that was the story of Apple 1. You will find more about it, how they come to know about these things, and where he met his girlfriend also, Elizabeth Holmes. And now, and next chapter, that is chapter 6, he have discussed about Apple 2. You can see this is very famous diagram of this Apple 2. It's very interesting. You all have seen in your childhood this part. Apple 2. I have seen this lot of part since my childhood. That's why this book so much I know about Steve Jobs since childhood, and Steve Jobs is the only person that led me to pursue computer science, I would say. So that was the influence. He was a great influencer. So at that time also, the Apple was now become a big company. 12 to 14 employees were there, and all very young. So someone needed to supervise them or give advice them. So Steve Jobs hired Mike Maruka, father figure to him, and he just understand what Steve Jobs is actually doing. He get the idea and he just joined their company. So he will learn about the story there. That was the Apple 2 chapter 6. And chapter 7 is all about his personal life, about his first girlfriend, Christian Brennan, with whom he has his first daughter, Lisa. You all heard about he also might have seen the movie also. So that was the case here. Yes. But as he was adopted, as he from a childhood, he thought that abandoned and chosen. He always have a dilemma of that his father abandoned him and their family abandoned him. So he just he was impacted by this, this factor, took the decision of abandoning his own child. You also have seen the movie about his, Steve Jobs. So it's all about personal things, what he have dealing with personal life, as he was refusing to accept the fact that he was the father of the child. So chapter 8 is all about Xerox and making of Lisa computer. So why Xerox company so much? Why he have discussed about the Xerox company? Because he just took the UI from them, and implement on his company. Xerox was already working on that, but they haven't got the just not like Apple company to make promotion like that. It could be sellable. So Steve Jobs took that advantage. He always quotes about Picasso, that Picasso famous saying that good artists copy and great artists steal. That was the quotes. That quote he lived his life. So using this quote, he just took the idea of GUI from the Xerox and implement is in the Apple II or Lisa. Earlier, most of the computers are based on command line or graphic CUI, command user interface. Just you have to write a command there. But graphical user interface completely revolutionized the digital world. The people now can interact with the computer not only for the job purpose, they can use this for entertainment also. That was the Jobs' main motive. So he just took the idea from Xerox and implement in the Lisa computer. So chapter 9 is all about going public. Now the Apple becomes so much large, so they wanted investors, so they decided to make it public. So that was a great decision with Steve Jobs. You can see his house, in his house. He doesn't have any furniture because he was so perfectionist. He can't able to decide which are good and which are bad, or which are the good best combination. He just decided in binary, yes or no. That's why that's his decision making capability. That's why he was very trouble in getting furniture. In this chapter, you will get to know about how they make Apple public and what are the benefit they get from it. Okay. Now the chapter 10 is about the Macintosh. So great. Macintosh is, everyone has heard about the Macintosh. Everybody in tech world have heard about Macintosh. In that chapter, you will see how he came to the design of Macintosh. Okay, it is very famous. Now in chapter 11, he discuss about Steve Jobs. Very distraction field, which is Steve Jobs' greatest, I could say, one of the best thing about that he believed in reality distortion theory, and one of the worst thing also. Okay, he didn't believe in reality. What he believed, what he make in his mind, that's become reality in around them. And also he used to create a field, like electric field is created, and everyone in a charge object get attracted to it. In a similar manner, he just created a distortion field, and everyone around him indulged into so much distortion field, and they also believe this is the reality. This is one of the founding thing of Steve Jobs. But it has also some disadvantage, like you will never able to accept the any tragedy that ever happened, because it doesn't consider. He will not accept it until he believe in it. That's also lead to ignoring of his cancer. It's one of the cause, and many other more. So in this chapter you will find about that. And the chapter 12 is about design, where he have some design aspect of Macintosh. He was working on that. Okay, how there were some controversy going on and something else, the ups and downs at what happened in early company. Some of the technical things are there in this chapter. Okay, chapter 12, the design about the Macintosh. Okay, and chapter 13, the building of Macintosh. Now the design is completed. Now they want to build it. So so much ups and downs is also there. You will read about it. He was get competition from IBM at that time. So he was. And also Macintosh, he want to end-to-end control. That was the famous thing. He believed the hardware and software should be combined, always be in the same, because if you purchase different hardware and implement a different software, the software might not work in hardware, or hardware might not support that software. So because of that, he wanted to create everything we combine, and everything will be designed from the scratch, and you want to complete control on it. Nobody can just plug the nuts and just modify it, or nobody could just install the software. So which was some different distinction from the Microsoft, which they used to purchase hardware some part and then implement a software in that. But he want to just make it at end-to-end control. You want to have control of everything. You cannot easily open a Apple device, you know, by using normal screwdriver and something, because he wanted to be secured. So that was all about this case, the building of Macintosh. Now the next chapter is chapter 14, in which he have discussed about his meeting with John Scully, who was at in the early part of his life. Steve Jobs used to admire him a lot. He was actually working at a Pepsi, and Steve Jobs wanted to hire him because he have a lot of knowledge about how to selling the products. So he just contacted him, and at that time he thought that it was his good decision to include Scully in their company, but eventually it turned out to be very worse. Even he get kicked out from his own company because of him. We'll learn about in later chapter, okay, in that part. It's very interesting. This chapter is turning point of Apple, I would say, in that chapter. Now the next chapter is chapter 15, where he have discussed about the famous Macintosh set. Now all the things about the Macintosh have been completed and tested. Now it's time for launch time, and launch time is always the Jobs' favorite time. You might have seen lots of launching of products like iPad and iPhone recently, that you will find that you just do it very very perfectly. He was quite calm and just handled the situation very carefully. The product launching of Apple while Steve Jobs was CEO was quite fascinating to watch at the time. So at the launch, he just you all have seen about this famous ad, the woman taking a hammer and running like a dent, creating a dent in the universe. That was his motto. It's very interesting thing. He will launch this part. Now chapter 16, he have discussed about the greatest rival and greatest friend of Steve Jobs, that is Bill Gates. Obviously, you all know that in a universe also everything is binary. Most of the star system in the universe are binary. So he have discussed about great famous rivals and great friend like Einstein and Bohr, Newton and Leibniz, and in the modern day Steve Jobs and Gates. So he have discussed about that part. And that was all about chapter 16. Now chapter 17 he has discussed some technical terms in here, okay, and company wise related. So in this chapter he have talked about his 30th birthday, which is the most I would say you can say the turning point at that time also, that because of just after the 30th birthday he just voted out from his own company as a CEO, and they wanted to, Apple was divided actually, the old team and new team, which old new team was against the job, and most of the people are against the job. They thought that Mike Maruka and John Scully, they just made their team, and they just want to outvote Steve Jobs. So and they actually do. The board also approved that. So this was the turning point of Steve Jobs' life. He was kicked out of his own company. Already Steve Wozniak has left after Apple II, because he doesn't want involvement to that politics. So he already left, and now Steve Jobs have left. So the two co-founders of Apple have left the company. It was very turning point for Apple. The next topic is about next, chapter 18, which is about the next computer. You might have seen the logo. It was somewhat not that much famous about Apple, but yeah, Steve Jobs he was young. He thought that he was young, and he had to do something else. So he just created his own company and called it Next, and hired some of the old colleagues of his Apple team and let them to work on that part. So that was all about Next. You will learn about why he came into that computer and how he had created, and how much is interesting story. You will learn about the interesting story about this logo, how he come into this logo. It's quite fascinating to read this topic. Now next topic is next chapter 19 is all about Pixar, which he have joined animated company Pixar, and he just goes to produce his own films like the most famous one is Toy Story. So and that was discussion of his joining and investing on Pixar. Okay, you will come to learn about this. Now in chapter 20 he was completely out of Apple now, and he just wanted to leave and now settle down and get married. So he just now become as a regular guy. And in this chapter he have discussed about, and the author have discussed about how he met his sister Mona, and about his mother and his father also. Come to know what it was. Actually he never met his father, but he just come to know in that chapter he was come to know about his real father. Okay, so it is all about a regular guy. And the next chapter is Family Man, now he want to settle down. Now he have seen everything. Now he's thought that he's now is 36-year-old, so he just thought that now it's good time to get married and have, take a break from these things. He's already kicked out of Apple, so it's quite interesting story about his wife, how he met his wife. Okay, you will find in this chapter. Okay, so now the next chapter is chapter 22. It's the release of Toy Story. How this film, how he has dedicated to creation of character of Woody and Buzz Lightyear. You will learn about this chapter and in this chapter, and what this movie do we all know, and rest is history. And some of the picture, Diana Walker, his long-term photographer, he used to click the photos of him. You can see his trouble in selecting a furniture, because he was so much in binary thinking that he cannot enable to decide among the best furniture and worst furniture and between worst and good furniture. So he always used to sit in a without furniture in his house. You can see. So there are some photos of it, of a lovely childhood photo in the company. The photographs are very interesting in this. This is some of the family photos Steve Jobs. He wanted Walter Isaacson to use it in this book. Actually, when the biography was released, you might have told that he somewhat altered the book, but he doesn't take case. He told that you write it independently. He told to Walter Isaacson. Now, chapter 23. This is the and this is all about return of Steve Jobs to Apple. The second coming. The name of this chapter is, where you will heard about how Apple was doing very worse and worse, and because of the Scully. Now the team of Apple approached him to come back to the company and take over. That was all about this chapter. Chapter 24. It's about restoration. Restoration means how he just will fit into the Apple after so many years, after nearly 10 years of gap, when he was kicked out of his own company. How he gonna cope up with that, and he's going to do could he really able to save Apple? So that was all the discussion in this chapter. Okay. Now chapter 25. Now he has come back to Apple. Now still he didn't take the role of CEO. He just advisor of CEO like that, and he just wanted to be in board member, so that he had full control of this time, that no one could kick out his company later. So he was working on that field, and that time he was an interim CEO only. So he just took out this trim word and just keep it and ICEO, and make it as his title as ICEO, and in this way I is born of Apple, which is very famous. Now you will come to know about. Now you're getting an idea how the I is actually, what is actually I mean in iPad, iPhone, in everything. What is I mean here? iMac. So this is the meaning of interim CEO. He was actually interim CEO, and he just omit the after I word and just keep the CEO, and in this way it become ICEO. So now he has fully control of Apple, and now he just want to revolutionize this digital world in a completely entire way. He always in an innovative mood. He always do creative things that really quite beyond imagination. Whenever I think about this, I think it is very crazy thing to do it. It's really, really crazy. He was really crazy, but he was crazy enough. So now design principle, about how he want to create something. He always hate PowerPoint. You will learn about that. He just want to be create marker in a whiteboard, and you have to create your idea, and this should be the case. Don't rely on Power PPT. If you know something, if you know it very well, why you need the PPT? That was his case, and I think it is very good thing. So now chapter 27 is all about the iMac. You can see the picture of iMac. Now he is going to just make it revolutionize that huge heavy computer and make it very lighter weight. And it was again hello again. So in the Macintosh, he grant Steve Jobs and his team a robotic voice which will say hello, and in this iMac he just launched hello again. Launch presentation are always great to watch. Now chapter 28, that is CEO. Now he removed the dialogue ICO, and now becomes CEO. You can see the picture. Now at that time Tim Cook came. He is actually the current CEO of Apple. So you can see the picture, legendary, and he was says so much thing common to Steve Jobs actually. So that was the introduction to Tim Cook and about the restoring the position of CEO in Apple. Now in 29th chapter here discussed about the increase of how Apple just become a worldwide company now. Now everyone know about the Apple stores. You can see the New York Fifth Avenue store here. Now chapter 30. It's very quite interesting chapter actually. You know, it is the introduction to iPod. You can see that the music and thousands or millions of music in your just a small pocket. You know, that was Steve Jobs' main motive. If you have seen the presentation video, I would suggest that just go to YouTube and just watch the video. Just use the slightest pocket, you know, small pocket of that of his jeans, and famously said that what is the use of this small pocket? Just then he took out the iPod. So that was great presentation. I like it very much. So you might just go and watch it. You know, you'll find very interesting how the product this was great event to watch whenever the Steve Jobs was CEO. So in that case you will learn about the iTunes and you know, how he managed to do that, how he have to go to you know, battle with Beatles, Sony and like that. All the music company are dominant at that time, and just, you know, convince them, or they just make a, you know, he just implement those things he want to implement, and sign many singers like Eminem and others to just. Earlier you all know that songs were not free, you have to pay for the song. Now you can just own an iPod and you can have millions of songs. You can also download the songs too for the first time. That was feature provided for the first time. Now chapter 31 is all about iTunes store. You know, how the like Apple store. So iTunes store is all the songs you can download and upload anything. Not upload, sorry, download and listen to online. That was greatly. These products are, you know, quite innovative things. You know, no one is think about it. Means some of had to think about it, but they are unable to make it so large. But Steve Jobs has so much capability to do that thing. Only Steve Jobs can do it. Now the music man, he have discussed about some childhood hero like Bob Dylan. He used to listen to his song. So, and he has just discussed about his famous idols here in this chapter. Author discuss about his famous idols. Now 33 chapter is again about the Pixar friend. He was still currently working both at Apple and, you know, giving a service to Pixar. So he has somewhat discussed about what is going on in Pixar, the Bugs Life, you know, the movie like, you know, Wall-E that was released at that time. Now early 2000 has come. This is the 21st century Mac. Now author discuss about how the 21st century is quite an interesting period for Apple. Now at that point, when he was celebrating his 50th birthday, he was reached by round 1 of cancer. Earlier he ignored it and tried to use some Eastern medicine to curb it, but he was unable to do that. So because of that delay, cancer is spread to somewhat more extent, and that was the crucial thing which leads to his death later years. Now 36 is about the launch of iPhone. It is very interesting. At that time I was also grown up, and I used to always, you know, I used to always see that at Cyber Cafe at that time about, you know, the launch of Apple products. So I have live seen this launch product video where he has just famously told that today I am going to give you I am launching 3 products at a time: an unlimited music, a mobile phone, and internet device. So that was his greatest. I still remember that video, you know, that release launch of iPhone at 2007. You know, I will never forget that. You know, you will find it more detail about this, and you will lost into the thoughts after reading this chapter 36. Okay, so very famous, very interesting. 37 is all about the round 2. The cancer has returned of Steve Jobs, which I have discussed about. That he was desperately, he was trying his best to avoid that, and he was becoming ill day by day and most famous because of his diet. Also, he just took a vegetarian diet, and he was having a pancreas cancer. So because pancreas is unable to produce so much protein, so he had to take protein, but because of his diet he was not taking non-veg products. So these are also some cause of his loss of weight, and he looked thinner, you know, of those days. If you have seen Steve Jobs at 2000 from 2008 to 2011 before he died. Now chapter 38. Now you can see the nowadays Steve Jobs, the launch of the iPad, the tablet era. Still that technology was available at that time, but no one make it famous as like Steve Jobs. So it's quite interesting. You might have seen about here why he opened the tab, and all the scene are things shown in the screen, and just choose according to apps. So yeah, you might have seen that, you know, release video. So that is all about in this chapter. Now we are reaching to the end of these topics. So you can see from the review what is the interestingness of this book. We will just I cannot say the way he's written. He's done so much deep research that no one done about Steve Jobs. So it's very great thing. So at 39 now he still have some new battles. Still he was struggling with cancer and all the things, weakness. Chapter 40. Chapter 40. It's about the launch of iPod 2. We'll come to learn about this when you read this part. Very interesting way you have discussed about this. Now this is the last chapter, and last and is very emotional chapter. You would say the last chapter. That is round 3 of cancer, where in this chapter Steve Jobs actually died. Very tragic thing happened. Some famous person always didn't have very more time in this world. So this is very interesting way he has written about all the going through all the details of how he actually leads to death. And even in his last word, you would thought about, he said, oh wow, and oh wow. When he died, he left unconscious, and when he rushed to hospital, he was declared dead. So that was the end of greatest pioneer of digital era, latest one. When I read this chapter, I just thought that I just go into the 2011 again at that time. Quite interesting. And chapter 42, now chapter 42 is all about legacy of Steve Jobs, what he have left to this world, his children, and his legacy as in a contribution to Apple. He's like a child to him, the Apple company. So you all know about Apple, the prestigious company in this world now, $1 trillion company, greatest computer. You can say what you could say Macintosh. Apple has given the great products like Apple 1, Apple 2, Macintosh, Lisa, and iMac, then iPad, iPhone, iPad, iTab, tablet, iTunes, everything, greatest thing. Legacy that all comes to Steve Jobs' legacy. He worked so very hard for the company, and the famous and other startup like working as investor in Pixar. He has revolutionized that part also, and the next computer. So he's quite doing a lot of things actually. Now I'm going to end the chapter, and it is the actually Steve Jobs was unable to read this book. Just he died, and after a few months he has completed the book and released the book. So very sad, he is not able to release his own biography and cannot see the pictures yet. So it's very sad thing to say that such a great man have such a tragic life, but he has in a short period of time he has done so much thing and so much thing so that he could be remembered for infinity to eternity. So that is his famous applique, and I have written something in the memory of Steve Jobs, after his funeral, the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook just released the unreleased version of the ad of Apple when he come Think Different ad when he come in Apple at 1997. So I will read that now. I somehow remember, because in a childhood when in assembly I used to tell these things. These quotes have really implanted in my brain. Very hard coded, you can say. Now I'm going to read that things also. Okay, so let's skip the book. That's all of the end of this book. Okay, you will if you read this book, I will say you will never be disappointed. You will learn more about Steve Jobs, and you will admire him more. Okay, what he have done to this as a human, for all the human species. So now that is famous in different ad. This is Think Different ad. Here's to the crazy one, the misfit, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round peg in a square holes, the one who sees things differently. They are not fond of rules. They have and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, you can disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But one thing you cannot do is that ignore them. You cannot ignore them. That's every line has deep meaning. It's about all the peoples who just think differently about, who sees the different about this world, not going into the traditional rule, because the rules are all human-made fictional things. So you should make your own rule and try to question everything. Why this and why not this. So these are the real people who make a 10 to 10 universe, as quotes by Steve Jobs. So you can glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you cannot do is that you cannot ignore them. They push the human race forward. While some may seem them crazy, but we see genius, because people who are really crazy enough to think that they could change the world are the people who really do. The last line is very inspiring and motivational. People who are crazy enough to think that they could really change the world are the people they actually do. You have to be crazy enough to think like that. You can do something and contribute something to which will inspire the entire humanity. Take our race forward, human race. So it's the greatest book I've ever read. I cannot describe more in 10 words how much I am inspired by this personality of Steve Jobs. So that's why you should read biography and autobiographies of people's. You will come to learn about a lot of personality, how they think different and work different. So that's all for all today. Hope you like this video, guys. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Take care.